Assalamu alaikum. Raheem here. Welcome. Let's slay some demons. Brothers and sisters, sisters and brothers, there's a lot happening right now. A lot is yet to happen. Some very difficult days ahead for some very glorious days ahead for those who have knowledge of themselves and understand the times. Either way, very dramatic days. I want to talk about a few things today, mostly just covering a lot of things we talked about in the past, maybe shed a little more light on it, primarily angel. I plan to take a little while on this. Like I said, I want to focus on a few things that I might have just passed over previously. There's a couple of topics I want to, a couple of videos I want to do today. But this is the first one. The second one is to get back into the wisdom. Abraham prayed that his seed would be raised up, be given the book and the wisdom. Now, where's the book and the wisdom? The book is the angel. That's giving their mind, the right mind back. Your religion is your mind. Your religion is supposed to reflect the reality that you're in. Your nature in regards to the reality that you're in. In other words, the reality, time keeps changing. My time moves on. Just like spring goes to summer, summer goes to fall, fall goes to winter. And you have to adapt to each one of those. And so, though your nature doesn't change, the times change. So you have to adjust. So that means you have to have a book. You have to have run different software for different seasons. That's your mind. You have to run different software for different seasons. It's your mind. So your mind changes. You don't have the same mind in the fall that you had in the spring. Because you have the same nature, but your mind will change because the seasons change. So that's why you get new books. They write these books every 25,000 years, and they pass these books out for the season. That book reflects the season that you're in. When that season no longer exists, that book is no longer relevant. The Quran was for a season. That season does no longer exist. Now it's irrelevant. This book, the season we're in now, the only book relevant for that is the angel, because it explains it in detail what's going on now. There's no other book present that explains in detail exactly what's going on now. That's what you need. That's the book. Now the wisdom is the tools to use. First you have to understand the tools, then how to use them, right? Because you use the same tools in the winter that you use in the spring. See, you use tools, right? In the spring, you don't need to use tools to make, if say for instance you're living out, you don't need to build fires, right? In the spring, because it's warm, it's hot, to keep you warm. When in the winter, you do. So you have the same tool, but you use them differently because the time is changing. So you use it differently. So it's like the mathematics you use mathematics, but use a different way. It's like use fire in a different way. Use a fire a different way in spring than you would in the summer. It's still fire. It's a tool. That's the wisdom. because pressure is the wisdom, but use it differently in different seasons. Different seasons change, times change, use the pressure differently. The way we used the pressure for the last 6,000 years was because we was under energy deprivation, so we used the pressure, knowledge of the pressure, certain ways, like for instance, Sabbath. Now we haven't talked about the Sabbath, but Sabbath was actually given to us as a remedy for the energy deprivation problem. Because the whole idea about Sabbath is not conserving your energy. You don't do anything on the seventh day. You do nothing. You conserve your energy. So that means you have more energy to spread out for over 6 days. That's what the Sabbath was given to us, not to them. That's another topic I'm talking about another time. So we use energy. So we made an individual that wouldn't suffer energy deprivation and gave them rules, so we at least our civilization, we wouldn't just fall into the total savagery. Because that's what would have happened if we hadn't put Adam on the scene. Now Adam is made for shed blood, but he's able to have a civilization. So as I tell you so often, bad water is better than no water. If you're suffering because you're dehydrated, you drink dirty water is better than no water. So his bad civilization, that's why he says, I know what you know not. His bad civilization was better than no civilization. Instead of being here and under his oppressive rule in some form of civilization, you might have been out there in the jungle running around being chased by lions and dogs and carrying on. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. When you understand the mathematics, all comes in the focus. And I'm going to focus on that particular subject maybe after or maybe tomorrow another time. I want to really go into that. But that's the wisdom. The wisdom is knowledge of the way the creation works. How can you be successful in the creation if you don't know how it works? If you're in a chess game, you better know how to play chess or you're going to lose. So the reality is pressure. The universe is based on pressure. The universe is pressure. It's force, period. And once you understand that, then you know how to master your creation. And you're given 5 tools to do that. The 5 they call the 5 pillars of Islam. They're really the 5 mathematical principles of Islam, or 5 mathematical principles of pressure, because all pressure. When you study them, you find there are 5 aspects of pressure. Now, scholars, they don't know that. They go, it's some mystical thing for them. That's what it is. We're going to talk about that in detail. But that's what you have to understand. So you have your mind, right, which is the book. And the wisdom is the tools of the 5 pillars of Islam, understanding the creation. And thought is the most powerful thing in the universe, what thought is for us. That's pressure. So that's not the particular topic I want to talk about today. I just want to mention that. I want to go into our subject. Is it given a timeline, a basic timeline of the YACOB era. I want to start from the beginning and go all the way up to now. Now, I'm not going to exquisite detail. Some places I'm going to skip through. I'm not going to skip over. I'm going to go through because it's long. I mean, it's very detailed. The whole history is very detailed. So I'm just going to give you a general walkthrough and show you how the scriptures and the Injil explains all of that. So when you read the Bible, you have a better understanding of what's going on. Okay, so let's move into it, and hopefully there's no we don't run into any technical problems. So let me get set up. Give me a few seconds. Okay, brothers and sisters, this is part one. There's 9 parts altogether. I'm not sure if I'm going to do all 9 parts in this session. We'll see. It's called the 7 thunders. In the angel, it says, a great mystery, the mystery of God will be revealed when the 7 thunders thunder. Nations are preparing for war. America. The angel key. Some of you are familiar with it. I'm not going to go into detail about it here, but there it is. Rod Muhammad. Here we're going to talk about the books, the Bible and the Quran. Now, there are those that will tell you that the Quran is not mentioned in the Bible. Some might say it is. If it is, what does it mean? Okay, we're going to go into that and find out. As like I said, we're going to start from the very beginning of YACOB's creation, which was 6,000 years ago. So to do that, we start in the book of Genesis. Okay? Now, in this book of Genesis, there's 6 days there. Now, when we go into this, you'll see that each day represents 1,000 years. But each day is broken into 2 parts, day and a night. That means 500 years and 500 years. So each day is broken into 2 parts. That's what you need to understand it. And you know something else about Genesis. It keeps saying, separate the waters from the waters and so forth. Like, well, it keeps saying that because it's telling you something. It wants you to separate those verses that has water in it from the verses that don't. And when you do that, you change the sequence between the 4th and the 5th verses. The 4th or 5th day, rather. That's very important because then you have the proper timeline what's going on. Remember, this book is 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 locked, is sealed, and so you need the angel to unlock it. So that's one of the ways it's sealed. This book, the Genesis, because to figure out what's the proper sequence of these days they give you. So we're going to go in general. I got some general notes here. They're not detailed. Don't go in. I don't want your historian say, hey, man, it wouldn't happen exactly like that. I'm just talking in general to make a point here. Okay, so it starts out. In the beginning, God created heavens and earth. Earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. See, this is talking about the earth represents the European nations. Okay? That's what the angel tells us. So now we know it's the earth that's formless and void. There's nobody there. See? So now this is where he starts his process. See? That's what it says. The Caucasian nation did not exist. Europe was a barren place of hills and caves. YACOB began his process. That's the first part. Remember I said it's broken into this 1,000-year period. It's broken into two parts, day and night. So first 500-year parts. So then after 500 years, to be precise, 600 years, but no, that's like the teaches. It's not a problem. See? After the 500 years, which 600 years is after the 500 years, right? They exist. See? And then God said, let there be light. Okay, another way of looking at it is we're the darkness, we're black. You got to read this carefully. And they're the light. They came out of us. The darkness was there first, us, the original people, and the light came out. See? And he separated the light from the darkness. In other words, so he calls the light day, the darkness called night, right? So he separates the two germs, the light germ from the dark germ. That's what it's telling you here, okay? That's what happened. Okay, let's go on. Then the second day, see? I talked about this, I'm not going to talk about it here, about the Mongoloids and how they came about and all that, okay? So anyway, that's the next 500 years. And then the next 500 years after that, I'm not going in detail, like I said. I'm trying to get to a point here, okay? So now we're 2,000 years in, 1,000, 2,000, after 2,000 years. Then we get here to the 3,000, right? This is, remember, according to Elijah Muhammad's teaching, they was enslaved, right, for 1,000 years, for 2,000 years. They lost 2,000 years of history in the caves, right? And see, he keeps talking about the dry land up here, separated waters from the light. So once it has waters, separated from the verse don't have waters. The previous verse had waters was mentioned. These don't. Okay, and then to establish that so you can look at this. You can study it for your own. It's there, right? So I just made some notes on the side. So I'm getting to the point. I'm getting to a point here. Okay. Okay, where are we at now? 1000 BC. Okay, this is the third day. Yes, no, okay. This is actually the fourth day. This is where they get switched. See, because fourth day here. See, the fifth. Wait a minute. Let me back up. Let me make sure I got this right now. This here is the third day. No, okay. And this is the fifth day. It should be the fourth day, but it's the fifth day because the fifth and fourth day get switched. Okay. Let's move on. So now we says it's the fourth day, but it's actually the fifth day. This is where it's important. See, this is where it gets very interesting, because this would be, remember that was part of the code, because they don't mention anything about waters anymore. See, They mentioned waters in the first ones. So that's how you know it's separated. The ones after it, waters is not mentioned. That's why I keep separating waters from dry land. Waters from dry land. Now waters is not mentioned anymore. Because that was in the first 4 verses. First 4 days. So it keeps saying that. Separate, separate. So it's telling you to do something. Okay. So here's 0 AD to 500 AD. That's the time of Jesus. Or Isa ibn Yusuf, the one that presented the angel. Or the Gospels. Right? Okay, so what it's saying here, watch this carefully, closely. Then God said, let it be lights in the spans of the heaven to separate the day from the night. Let it be signs and seasons for days and years. Let them be for lights in the spans of the heavens to give light on earth, and it was so. Okay. Then you go to, remember this is actually the 5th day. And God made the 2 lights. Right? The greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He made stars also. The important part here, God made 2 lights. The greater light to govern the day, okay, and the lesser light to govern the night. See? But it tells you up top there, right? Let there be lights in this spans. So that's where the first light. So in other words, the 2 lights they're talking about, right? There's 2 lights. One is the Bible. That's the greater light. And 500 years later, right, would be the lesser light, the Quran. The Quran was given to original people. Got them there. And the Bible was given to the Caucasian people. But it says the Bible was the greater light. And the Quran was the lesser light. But see, the greater light was given to them, but it was sealed so they didn't understand it. If you read the Injil, they said that God had the book in his hand, and the Lamb took it from him. Because it says no one in heavens or earth, under earth could unseal it. But this God had it. That if he's the one that wrote it, then how could that statement be true? That means that God is talking about Satan. He had the book, but he didn't understand it. They had the book because the book was locked to the end. So it tells you that the Bible is a greater light. And the Quran is both my lights. But the Quran is a lesser light. It's like the moon. But the Quran, the Bible is like the sun. Hope you understand that. See? So the original people were supposed to be governed by the lesser light. Up until the end. So that's another story altogether. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm starting from the beginning, from YACOB's creation. And the point I want to make here was these 2 books. See? So they end there. So and that was the 5th day. It said the 4th day, but it's actually the 5th day because I said you switch those around, you will look at it, they don't mention anything about waters anymore. Right? Evening and 4th day. But it's actually the 5th day. Because you had to switch to. Now the 6th day. This is very important. The furnace of affliction. All of it is important. The furnace of affliction. Now, pay close attention to this. 1000 AD to 1500 AD. Okay. Then the God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures after their kind, cattle, creeping beasts of the earth after their kind. It was so. God made beasts of the earth after their kind, cattle after their kind, and creeps on the ground after his kind, and God saw that it was good. See? This, well, I'm going to leave that for now. I want to get to this part here. This is 500 years ago. Right? 500 years ago. 500 years ago, we came into captivity. This is where they get things all messed up at. Then God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness. Let them rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, over the cattle, and over the earth, so forth, so on. See, They say, well, hey, they talking about waters. No, they say, I won't say water, they say sea. So when you go back to watch those other ones, the first ones says water has the water in it, and the last one, that's where you divide them, separate the water from dry land, and the ones that don't have water, that's the last one. So that's where the fourth and fifth one gets switched. Fourth and fifth day gets switched. So it's the last 500 years. Now they get that messed up, but they're trying to say this is Adam. This is not Adam here. This is us. Let us make man our image according to our likeness, and let us make man and let them rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds, over the sky, cattle. And he created man's own image. In his image of God, he created him, male and female. That wasn't Adam according to Angel, according to Genesis. Adam was made first, and Eve came afterwards. You know, she was like an afterthought. See, so they would have them rule over all the earth, over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. Everything. They rule over everything. See, they would be create an image in the likes of God. That means they're gods. It's like your son or your daughter. They image and likeness. That's not Adam. Adam is our image. He's not our likeness. Likeness means your nature. That means we're raised from angels to gods. See? That's firmness of affliction. That's what it's talking about. For my name's sake, I would defer my anger, and my praise I would restrain it. This is what it's talking about here. In other words, firmness of affliction. So we go for 500 years, start 500 years ago, and we go for firmness of affliction. The process, because that's how you make a God under extreme pressure. See, that's what it's talking about here. They get that wrong, and we'll see that in a minute. Okay, that's okay. I didn't go any further there, but read the story of Adam and read it carefully. I didn't include that here because I just wanted to get to the point. The major point here was about the two books. But read the story of Adam. When it gets to the second chapter, it starts talking about Adam. It says before the waters, if you explain, it says before this, before that. That means Adam was made back there on the first day, because it tells you he was before there was animal, before this, I can't remember exactly. But if you go and look at the things that would happen those days, it was happening before the fifth day. The fifth day, right? We're in the sixth day now. So Adam's time was over. It was over now. Anyway, the main point here, so I'm getting ahead of myself. The main point here was to show you that it talks about the Quran and the Bible. You have, oh man, you mean the Bible is more powerful than the Quran? Well, see, that's stupidity right there. Because now you're comparing Allah's word against itself. See, because they want, oh, the Quran's it, the Slim, that's it. Okay, well, hold on to that thought. Hold on, you stay right there. See, because you'll still be right there 1,000 years from now, just like the Sunnis are. They stuck 1,400 years in the past. Look at them, they're stuck 1,400 years in the past. They stuck time has moved on, and they still stuck 1,400 years in the past. They're at the mercy of the future. They are at the mercy of the future. Who's the future? The future is Adam. Adam been kicking the ass for 500 years. They're at the mercy of Adam and his reality, his science. Because Adam has moved on, and they're the past. And now we're still moving on, and Adam's going to be at the mercy of us in a minute, because he's the past now, because we're the future. He can't go further into the future. He's like he had he can't go further into the future. He had a limitation. See? Now he's through. The Sunnis are never going to. They're trying to. They trying to. What the Sunnis are trying to do. They're trying to recapture the past. You can't do that. They'll find out. Well, they may never find out. See, because they looked in the past, and what's only reward for those in the past is the graveyard. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, brothers and sisters, part 2. Adam. Just led it to Adam. We're talking about Adam now, right? Now, the Adam they're talking about there is the same Adam in the Quran. However, they give it a more general picture of him in the Genesis. So we'll see. We have to walk through it to understand what I'm talking about. Because the Adam they're talking about in Genesis, and the Adam they're talking about in the Quran, is the last iteration of Adam. The first Adam was 6,000 years ago. The last iteration of Adam would be the one you see in the Quran of the last 500 years. Actually, the last 1,500 years. We'll talk about that in a minute. He's the last iteration of Adam. The one they say raised from the dust of the earth, he's the same one they're talking about in the Quran. So you understand that. The one they talked about there, he's not the same Adam that actually Dr. YACOB made. He's a descendant of him. He's the last iteration. See? He's still YACOB's creation. He has the last manifestation of it. Okay? We'll see as we go into it. The same one, because in the Quran, the one there, they think it's, well, the first man, all that kind of stuff. No. It's not. He's the last iteration of Adam. The one that will go to the end, Gog and Magog. See? So let's just go into it. Angel key. That's the key. That's another iteration of it. Adam and Eve. Okay. Now to understand that. In angel, you have the earth. The earth represents East and Western Europe. I use the old Soviet Union flag because most people are familiar with that, but it's really Russia. Russia represents Eastern Europe. The EU, European Union, represents Western Europe. Two legs of the old Roman Empire. They're the two iron legs of the book of Daniel, of the statue. Okay. So the European countries represent the earth. Okay? So, let's see what happens here. So it says, Adam was made from the dust of the earth. Okay. Adam, the reason why I say that is because Britain is not a part of Europe. It's an island off the coast of Europe. See, it was a place where they sent refugees, immigrants, fugitives. There was exiles and all that. They threw them off into Britain, got them out of Europe, where they fled there. That's why it's a bastard language. It's made up of all kinds of languages, all kinds of people, and everything else. That's Adam. That's why I said dust of the earth. The dust. That's what it means. See? The dust out return it. They turn it in. That's what they end back up in Europe. But it's not going to be like they wanted to be. That's what it means. Adam was made from the dust of earth. Now this happened 1,500 years ago. Okay? Adam was made from the dust of earth. Okay, go on. But then it says, now it's just Adam, right? Then it says Adam was put to deep sleep. Okay? He's put in deep sleep. And what they're talking about is the Dark Ages. Europe, all the Europeans went to the Dark Age for 1,000 years. This is history. This is what it's talking about in chapter 20 of the Angel. They try to tell you the millennia is past. No, the millennia is in the future. No, it's past. This is 1,000 years. But they were in the Dark Age. They were thrown into the abyss. Okay? So for 1,000 years, they were asleep. They was put into a deep sleep. Okay? Then after 1,000 years was over, Eve came out of the side. After 1,000 years, right? That's when they discovered there was a whole world, and they established a colony over here called America, and that's Eve. Eve came out of Adam's side. That's what it's talking about. Out one of his ribs. Then the rib was closed up. So why do they say all that stuff? Because they were dependent upon Adam, upon Britain, right? But then they had a revolution, so the womb was closed up. The flesh, so they was separate. Now it was separate. That's Eve. 500 years ago. That's what it's talking about. Watch the names carefully. Then they had two sons, two righteous sons. So I was telling you that each one of these creatures have 6 wings. The top 2 wings are the Islamic ones. So they had 2 righteous sons, Abel and Seth. That's Iran and Syria. They are they're paternal, they're original, but on the maternal side, they're Caucasian. That's why they're white. Okay? Because the top side, the Islamic part, right? That means they're descendant, they're original. Okay? The top part of each one of these nations, the 2 top are original. Okay? So that's the 2 sons they had. Okay? Then they had a third son called Cain. See? He the one was slay his brothers. Okay? Adam and Eve gave birth to him. They gave birth to false Israel, Cain, Satan, in 1948. Then they were cast down. It talks about the 24 elders cast their crowns down. Well, I'll talk about that in another video. I'm not going into detail about that. But it said Cain slew his brothers. They mentioned at least one, Abel. And it says his blood rolled up from the earth, right? Because he's under earth now. He's under earth. See? So he killed him. He's under earth now. This is where false Israel, American Britain went to the Middle East in 1990. See, because now they took the place of where the Iranians and the Syrians, they was on top. They was in the Middle East. Now American false Israel and Britain has moved to the Middle East, and so they displaced them. That's what it's talking about. Okay, let's go over this again in a different way. Here's Adam and Eve. That's the earth. I mean, here's the earth, right? Here comes Adam. Here comes Eve. And then the tree was brought there, was transplanted. That means it was growing someplace else, and they transplanted there. They didn't say planted seeds, they planted a tree. Right? This is the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the tree of life, and just it was how many trees there was there? There's no tree that produces two types of fruits. So it was a tree of knowledge of good, tree of knowledge of evil, the tree of life, and another tree they can do whatever they want to do with. See? Tree of life is the seed of Abraham. See? That's tree of life. The tree of knowledge of good, right? That's the Levites, Elijah Muhammad's Nation of Islam. Tree of evil are the Christians. They're the demons. They're the product. When they came over here, it wasn't in this structure. It was all gold. This is as a result of their tampering. So now you have demons that are the devil's seed through rape of original women and black women. Okay? Just because you're black, that don't mean you're original. So I'm saying they were a product of seed of original women and black women. Okay? You got demons there. Okay? So they was brought over. This means they were brought enslaved. I'm just following what Genesis says. And then there was Adam was told to name the animals. That's what it's talking about, other creatures. They have British names, English names. That's not what they call themselves. Africa doesn't call itself Africa. Asia doesn't call itself Asia. The Orient doesn't call itself the Orient. They have their own names, but the names we call them are English names. So Adam was given control. That's what he did. He went all over the planet and gave all of everybody their names. So it's talking about. He didn't go out here and name a pig and a horse, because I mean they have different names, different language, right? And he didn't go out and name a mosquito. I mean, do you know how many? If he was doing that, he'd still be doing that 10 million years from now. You know how many creatures out there? Just mammals themselves, there's in the millions. You're going to cook reptiles, you're going to cook plants, and go insects and birds, and come on. So that's that's going on here. That's what's going on. So I know you see something a little different. Hold on, let me change this a little bit. Because this is, let's see. This might be a little better. Might be a little better. At any rate, that's what that is. Then along comes Cain, the murderer, kills his brothers. Okay? So we're talking about injury. We're not changing anything here. Okay? Now, they was told not to eat, because the day you do it, you will die. There's two connotations to that, because that means the year they do it, they would die. Also, they did it in the last 500-year period, right? Because remember, you have 1,000 years. Each book broke two parts. This is the last 500 years of the 6th day, right? So also they would die in that day. So that day is over now too. So you come at it both ways. See? They cannot extend past this last 500-year period, which is over now. Okay? That's what's going on here. So they were told not to eat a tree of knowledge of good. Now, in other words, you eat something, you consume and destroy it. This is their plan to get rid of us. I talked about this many, many times. They was told not to kill us. They could beat us, torture us, but not kill us. They could do anything to Job, but they could not kill him. But at this point, they was told, do not eat right? A knowledge, tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's, do not go and kill them. Because they told you, they was told by a serpent if they did that, they could live forever. See, which was a lie, but it was kind of alluring because the idea was they got rid of all the black people, then God would have nobody else to work with but them. That's the idea. See, but the real people they after, well, is the tree of life. That's what they really want to get after. You see, the tree of life. Because if they can get after the tree of life, they could live forever, for sure. That's it. But they missed that one. So they go after these blacks who they think that's the story of Jesus. They was trying to find who Jesus was. They couldn't find him. See? So they try to kill all the children. They figure if they kill all of them, they get him. You think it's a gender thing. It's not about gender. They kill all of them. They figure they get him. They really say, well, I'm not going to the gender idea about this, but that's the whole point here. So Eve eats first. Then she gets Adam to eat. See? In other words, their plan is to get rid of all black people in America and Britain. Just get them all, kill them all. See? Kill them all. Because they can't get to the tree of life. That's what they want to get to. They don't know who it is. They can't. It was hidden. I talked about that in previous. Okay. Okay. Now, if you understand, the angel, one of the symbols for the original nation are eyes, the 7 eyes. That's one of the symbols, 7 eyes. You also call the 7 golden lampstands, also called the 7 spirits. So in this case, 7 eyes. So what happens is, that's what it says, when they ate, their eyes became open. They had eyes now. You see, they have eyes now. America, Britain, Adam and Eve have eyes now. That's what it means, angel language. Okay? They have eyes now. Let me do this real quick. That there. Okay. They have eyes now. Okay. So once they have eyes, they can see. This is what's about to happen. At least this was their plan. See, you had 2 plans. This was their plan. But when you understand the sixth seal, this plan is interrupted. But this was their plan. The plan was to get rid of us, and then there'd be a war, before the war happened. Because that was their fear, that a war would happen, and we would join onto their enemies and fight against them, and then leave the land. That was their fear. So they wanted to get rid of us before there was a war, because they see a war coming. America knows, listen to them, they know a war with China and war with Russia is coming. They're not sure about the one in the Middle East, unless they start it, but they know a war with China, and they say it all the time. It's coming. So they want to make sure they get rid of us first. And that's what this is. So now they see. Then once they see, then they cover themselves. That's what it's talking about. The sackcloth represents the Shia and the Shia or Syrian in Iran, right? When that's the war. So they kicked them back out of. Remember, America and Britain had moved to the Middle East. Now they kicked them out. So this is Michael and his angels, Pharaoh and his angels, who are the Shia. They kicked the dragon's angels back out. That's what's happening. Now, their time sequence meant that they was going to get rid of us before this happened, before the war started. See? That was their plan. And we're going to talk about that in another segment. Everything comes together. Here is the angel key. But now there was this serpent who was above all the other serpents. Okay, that represents Africa there. Actually, say exactly who that lion represents. It's a figure that we all know. But it says he was above, he was the one that convinced them to eat. That gets into very, very detailed stuff, brothers and sisters. You're not ready for it yet. But if you had any idea who Obama is and what he's about, you would be so, those of you who got your head stuck up his behind, you would be there. Believe me. Because you're going to see him again. He's a rider on the white horse, the first one in the first seal. He went for a conquer and the conqueror, and he had 2 conquests to make. He already made 1, President of the United States. He's African. What African, Daniel even tells you that, what African ever ruled a European country? Only Obama. You gotta understand it. Okay. And it says because the serpent did that, God cursed him and said he would go down his belly. There you go. And where's his head? His head is on Eve's heel, and Eve's heel is upon his head. That's what it says. It's angel language, brothers and sisters. This represents the resurrection and the blowing of 4 winds. I'm not showing all of that. I'm just trying to make this point for you here. That's what, when you read it, so you understand what it's talking about. And again, here, I show the symbols here, right? What originates is called the 7 eyes. Also called 7 spirits. Also called 7 lampstands. Okay? I show the earth and Gog and Magog. They also represent the earth. America and Britain are Gog and Magog. The Jah is false Israel. Okay, that's enough for segment 2. Let's move on to segment 3. Bear with me for a second, brothers and sisters. See if I can find a better placement for this. Okay, I think I can do that. Okay, let's see. I think that will work. Okay, brothers and sisters, this is segment 3. We're talking about the Christ here. Now, we've talked about the YACOB's creation from the beginning. We talked about the books, Quran, and the Bible. We talked about how Adam and Eve came about. We're talking about we're in the last 500 years, the furnace of affliction. That we're the ones they said, let's make man our likeness, our image. We raise angels to gods. Okay. Because when they talk about that, Now talking about the Adam that you see in the next chapter, right? That's a whole different. That's the ones they talk about there. So let's make man our likeness, our image. That's us, the original nation. That's we're being transformed in the furnace of affliction. The Adam that you see in the next chapter, that's Europeans. Jesus, Joshua. Okay, we start off again, East Europe, West Europe, right? Adam. Now, this gets back to the Joseph and Mary story. The angel also explains that. But it's also talking about Adam and Eve's story just in a different light. Adam was made from the dust of the earth. Here's Adam, but that's also Joseph. There's Mary. Mary was supposed to have been a virgin. What it means is America was a virgin country for the Europeans. It was a virgin country. They didn't touch it. It was untouched by any man. Untouched by them. That's what it means. So Mary, and it says Mary was blessed above all the other women, right? All the other nations. That don't mean that God blessed them in a good way. It means they was more prosperous, more successful than all the other nations, more powerful. That these was the, remember Adam was given to name these nations, right? Or these animals, if you want to call them creatures, right? But also, he had control over them. That's what it tells you in the angel. So let's look at it. We see, and this is not coincidental, brothers and sisters. Excuse me. We see that who colonized Africa? Western Europe. They colonized Africa. Okay? Who colonized, who dominated Asia, India, including the Middle East? That was Britain. There's no coincidence, history. When they say, oh, I got him now. What Russia had to do with the Orient? Well, they had control of them also, ideology, right? Communism. That came from Soviet Union. So each one of these had control over these particular nations. Ideological control, right? Domination, right? And colonization. It might be interesting, all these broke their control around the 60s, that period of time. I'm not going into detail about that. Those of you who have been paying attention might understand that. So that's history. See? I'm just showing you a different format here. Remember I said the angel key has 2 or 3 different types of constructs, but it all comes together. This is one of them. Okay? And then, here it is, 1555. It says Mary, right? She wasn't impregnated by Jew. She was pregnant by the Spirit. The Spirit overcame her. Whose origination is Spirit. That's what it means. See? So that means the original nation was brought here, right? That's the Spirit. And so what it's saying is the original nation, right? It says America is our mother, okay? And the original nation is our father, okay? Yeah, Abel and Seth again. And then you have, look at this again. We're talking about the Christ here. Look at this again. See 2 things happening at once? You get this sun coming up and the star coming up. Okay? 1948. It says that The star would rise in the east, right, to herald the conception, right, of the Christ. Both will happen simultaneously. So the star that rose in the east was 1948. That means the Christ was born in the west. If the star was raised in the east, so he was born he'd be conceived in the west. So both are conceived at the same time. The Star of David, it rose in 1948. So that means the Christ conception would be in 1948, right between March and April, because that's when false Israel was conceived. That's what it's telling you there. So Mary gave birth to the Christ, whose father was the Spirit, original nation. That's when they would give birth, and that would be the sign of his conception. Now I'm going to take a little segue here. You see this on top of each nation. I said each nation, right? The top. That also means Abel and Seth, but I'm just leaving it white at this point, right? It says the gold, the top part is the gold part, because gold represents Islam, or the original nation, original people. So we see over there, we see the golden calf, the golden part of the calf. But the wings right there, that represents the Arabs. Sunnism is the golden calf. Okay, there you go about the Christ. So I'm just covering a lot of different concepts here, brothers and sisters, for your study. Okay? I said it about Oriental nations. Russia had ideological control of them by communism, right? But America had control over us, right? Enslavement. Each one of these nations was controlled in a different way by European nations. But Seth and Abel wasn't involved in that process. Iran and Syria wasn't involved in that process. America, Britain, Russia, and EU, European Union, they all had a part in dominating the nations in one form or another. Domination, colonization, ideological control, and enslavement. And all was under control of the was sitting on the throne, Satan, the God of this world. Because one in the center is the God of that nation, or the Lord of that nation, or the king of that nation. It's all angel language, brothers and sisters. Okay, so that's 3. Okay, let's go to 4. Okay, brothers and sisters, I'm a little problem here. For some reason this won't come up. There it is. Okay, brothers and sisters, I believe this is section 4, the crucifixion. We'll go through this quite quickly. They talk about the crucifixion, and you think it's saying one thing, it's saying something totally different. Okay. This is witnesses rising, war imminent. Okay. Now, this is where we are right now in time. The 4 winds hasn't blown yet. Okay. Okay. See there? That's the cross. Okay. This is just before this is once the war. Okay, the point here is the war has started, it's over. Britain, America, false Israel is thrown out. This is chapter 18. Babylon has fallen. When he falls, right, it tells you, well, it doesn't tell you that, but you have to understand. Oh, well, anyway, I'm not going to it right now because it's just too many things to cover here. But that's when, at that point in time, that's when Suleiman, or the Lamb, right, he goes to the Elijah Muhammad's in the Y and cleans them up. That's what it talks about in Malachi, the Lord who you seek, the messenger of the covenant. It says two messengers. It says nobody after Elijah. It says 2 messengers. Elijah the messenger, and then the messenger of the covenant, who would suddenly come to his temple, and he would come with full soap to clean it up. So now he comes and cleans up the NOI. This is the point where this is the process of getting ready to kill us. In other words, the tanks are rolling. They've already made it clear that they're out to kill us, to get rid of us. Because the war, they've just lost this war, and now they're at war with China and North Korea. They're also at war with Russia and their old friends, EU. See, that's why they're positioned there. That means Babylon has fallen from his position. So now they know they have to get rid of us. Before they feared that we might join the enemy if there's a war. But now there's a war, and now they want to get rid of us. Because you see all this stuff going on here now? Black folks and all this stuff. They say, no, we can't. We got to get rid of them. Because we're at war. But this is the worst war they ever had. Worse than World War II. You see they did in World War II with the Japanese. So when war broke out with Japan, they put all the Japanese in concentration camp. That's it. They intend to do with you all black folks. But they ain't going to let you out. They're going to get rid of you, exterminate you. That's their plan. That says, Adam and Eve says, eat. When you eat something, you consume it. You ain't playing, you consume it. That means you consume it, you're getting rid of it, you're annihilating it. That's what it says. Throw them, they said, they try to avoid them. They said, throw them in the river, kill them. They want to. That's the whole point. They'll gather you up. Yeah, it's obvious now because the tanks are rolling. Trump has already said what he's going to do, get them all together. They already surrounded us. He's talking right now, bringing troops into the inner cities. He's talking about it right now to stop all this stuff. Which day he's going to be talking about when the war starts? He's going to win this election. That's what it's talking about. That's the cross there. So now that's what it means. It said the Son of Man, right? It says so he'll be crucified. It says, and it associated with Jonah. It says, as Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days, right? So shall Son of Man be in the center of the earth, right? He's at center of earth there. He says that's what it's talking about in the heart of the earth. That's what it's talking about. It's not talking about him actually being killed. That's where he would be. See, the crucifixion. See, and there was two crucified with him. See, under him, right? See, there's two, right? And at the feet across who? It's the Jews and the Romans. They're the feet of the cross. The Jews and the Romans. That's what it's talking about. That's what they mean by the crucifixion. And he tells them, he says, one of you, the one that believes, see, that's the NOI, they repent of Farrakhan, they repent of the demons, and they believe in him. And he says, you will be in paradise with me this day. And the other one was left behind. That's what it's talking about. So the NOI is taken up with him when he goes, and Magog, right, that's with them on the cross, they're left behind. Right here. What happened? Here you go. See? He's up there, and NOI goes up with him. See? And Magog's left behind. That's what it's talking about. Two thieves, because they were thieves. They was under Farrakhan, they were thieves. They was crucified with him. That's what it means, right? And that's the resurrection. So the wheat, and the man, the demon-possessed man is Elijah Muhammad's Nation of Islam. And he's surrounded by the demons. It's also the chaff and the wheat. They all come together. This is the resurrection, all come together. See? And they're trying to, they were going to kill all the black feet because they was trying to get to the ones on top. The 144,000. Those are the true seed of Abraham. They couldn't get them. They couldn't figure out where they were because they was hidden. I talked about that. So they all come together now because now they know what's going on. So they all come together because they want to kill all black people. So all black folks come together. But we don't want the demons. Even now, the demons say, wait a minute, same thing back in like in the 60s. Oh man, we want integration. We can work with Massa. Massa, come on, we can sit in and all this kind of stuff. They're going to even saying that even then. They say, oh, Massa, we Christians. We love America. We are children. We're not going to fight with you. We can work this out. They're going to still be talking that at that time. They can still be talking that at that time. See? Because we're going to be leaving. Michael, at that time, Michael the rise, and all those in Lamb's book, that means the seed of Abraham, they will be delivered. See? And those that sleep in the dust, that's the Nation of Islam, everlasting life. But they have to go to tribulation, they're not delivered. And the other one, everlasting shame, the palm, that's the demons. They're cast back to the devil daddies. That's what it says in demon-possessed man. That's what it says in demon-possessed man. The Legion, like Louis E. Jean Brown says, please don't make us lead a country. They want to stay, I want to stay here with Master, with my swine daddies. And so he has to be going back, thrown back with them. But the demon-possessed man, once he was free of his demons, he wanted to get out. But he said, no, you can't get out because you have to go back and minister. I talked about this before. Okay, that's that. So I'm just trying to reiterate these things, trying to put them all together for you, brothers and sisters. Okay, let's go to 5. Maybe we'll get them all. Okay, we're going to talk about part 5, the 7 thunders. Legion, son of addition. The chief demon was named Legion. Jesus called him out. So what's your name? He says, my name is Legion. We are many. It's many demons. Louis Eugene Grounds of NOI backwards. Take it, leave it. That's what it means. He wants to change it now. He says his name is Louis Eugene, but he wants to get away from that Grounds, because that was his mother's maiden name. Now they're trying to change it on the internet. So that's coincidence. Demons, Legion. Louis Eugene Grounds, Farrakhan, the chief demon. A demon is someone who has a European father, Caucasian father, but another than Caucasian mother. That's what a demon is. Half man, half devil. That's where it comes from, right? Okay, you have this concept called Jos Prima Natus, right? Means right of first night. See, this is in part how the demons came about, because in Europe prior to slavery, back in the feudal days, the master of the house, the lord or whatever, he reserved the right of Jos Prima Natus, means that if anyone of his servants or whatever they call them married, he would sleep with the bride the first night. This was particularly prevalent in Scotland, right? You had it right first night. So basically, because this was English, they was controlling Scotland. So basically, most of the children born was English, because if she got pregnant, then it would be his child. So he reserved the right that they got married, he'd be the first one to sleep with her before he did. The first night, that's what they call it. And that was the process. And they excised that during slavery, but they didn't call it no particular name, because slave master, he first slept with the slave girls before anybody else did. And if he found he wasn't a virgin, somebody's head would roll. Because a male slave, black male slave, could not have any relationship with a black female unless the slave master permitted it. He had to get permission, period. Only one had right to the black females was the slave master. And consequently, the angel tell us half of the black people in America right now are demons. They're slave master's children. The slave master's children was the house Negroes, because you had to be a slave master's child. Is then to be in, because he trusted them, because that was his children. They may have been niggers, but they still was his children, and their heart was towards him, like it is so-called in the 60s. Oh, we want to be with master. We'll integrate. And you see them on TV. The people you see on these blacks on TV and everything, they're slave master's children. They wouldn't have got no position if they weren't his children. They give us talk like Elijah Muhammad talking. They won't be there 5 seconds. Look at Kopernik. He just said a little bit, and bam, they slammed him. You see them on TV, they're not you. They look like you, walk like you, talk like you. They're not you. They're slave master children. Listen how they talk. Our country, our forefathers. And they keep their names. Why? Because they're all their names. You can't get mad because they keep those names as those names they keep. My name is Chicken. My name is Mr. Turkey. My name is Mr. O'Brien. My name is Mr. Jackson. Well, that's their names. That's their father's names. That's their fathers. So they have rights to those names. See? We should get rid of them, but we don't need to. We will get rid of them. We get in hereafter. Like somebody says, oh, it's bad eating pork and everything. Well, you don't have that problem hereafter, because there won't be any pork. He says that's one thing Christ do. He break the pork. You won't eat the pork, because there won't be no pork to eat. Let's get real here. Okay, so originators were dragged here in America. Gold symbolism for Islam and India. So she was all golden when we came here, all golden. See, that's the woman they talk about chapter 12. Okay, then you got the dragon. Okay. So the original nation gives birth to Farad. He's original. He's a seed of Abraham, direct descendant of Abraham, right? Okay, that gives you a hint because where Farad born? It says in chapter 12, right? It says the dragon stood by to devour him as soon as he was born. So that gives you a hint who the dragon is. Because Farad was born in Saudi Arabia, in the city of Saudi Arabia in 1877. So for the dragon to be there to devour him as soon as he was born, he would have to be, his lair would have to be in Saudi Arabia. That shows you the dragon represents the house of Saud. See? But she's almost, the woman in chapter 12, she's also tormented to give birth. That means she's being raped. Woman's being tormented to give birth. She's being forced to give birth. She's raped. So that's where terrors came. That's where demons came in. That's slave masters' children. So she gave birth, not only to, she gave birth, read it carefully, she gave birth to a son and a male child. So you think because it's the same thing. No, the Benjamin doesn't do, it's two. She gives birth to two. She gave birth to a son and a male child, right? One is the lamb and one is the God. And then she's forced to give birth, right? That's to the demons being raped. It says about the enemy sowed his seed amongst the wheat as it tares. See? And there's Elijah. Elijah, see, he's not part of the nation of Islam. He's not part of the original nation. He's a Levite. So he was two resurrections. He was a Levite. They're tribe that was grafted into the original nation. Read the scripture. They was grafted into the original nation. They're a priest tribe. Elijah Muhammad was the top one of them. And he raised the widow's son, which is the nation of Islam. His nation of Islam. But it took Jesus to raise Lazarus. That's the original nation. That's the seed of Abraham. See? Elijah, a Levite, raised the Levites. That's his nation of Islam. They're Levites. But they grafted into the nation because they went through the same suffering that we went through. So, and they're a priest tribe, and their whole objective was to help Elijah Muhammad and to prepare the way, to finish his mission off, to prepare the way for Suleiman when he came. But they didn't do that. So that's why they got to go through tribulation, because they allowed themselves to be deceived by the chief demon, Legion, Farrakhan. So they sowed the tares amongst the wheat. And he says, let them grow together, minister to both of them. So Elijah ministered to both of them. There's the dragon again. The dragon has 7 heads and 10 horns. There you go. The woman had the moon under her feet. That's a Sunni. Okay? So the angel says that the house of Saud, not even Arabs. They said the Indians that the British put on the throne when they had control of that region. So there's the 7 heads. He has a crown of 7 heads. That's the dragon. And his tail, a red tail. It had 10 horns. Okay, now we're talking about the son of perdition, right? And it said the restrainer, someone was plotting against Elijah Muhammad, and he had to be removed. He was holding him back. See, he was holding him back, right? And he had to be removed. He was removed. It says he removed, and then it says the falling of, he was holding him back. But he was moved, right? He's taken by the God. He went to heaven. He's with Farad now, right? And then the falling away, this is acting kind of weird, but anyway, you understand. Then the falling away would occur because it's headless now. That was John the Baptist's head been removed. It didn't mean he was killed. It means he was removed. The nation of Islam, the nation of Islam had no head. Had no right? There was nobody, it was removed. Right? There was no leader. So they fell apart. That's what it means. They fell apart. That's talking about the woman fled into the wilderness. So it's talking about there. Because it was headless. He had no leader. Because Farrakhan and Wallace got rid of the leadership. They got rid of the Nation of Islam. They buried it. Started something called the Belialians. Right? Then it says, after falling away, it says, The man of sin will not be revealed to after the fall away. Farrakhan swept the script and said, no, he going to call a lie a lie. He says, no, the fall, he says, the man of sin revealed before. Talking about he called the son, the man, the son, he's called the son of perdition, the Jews. He says, they'll be revealed first, and then the falling away, because people fall away from them once he revealed them. That's not happening. That's not what Scripture is talking about. It says, be not deceived. It says, the fall away will occur first. That means Nation of Islam fell apart because there was no leadership. Then he came on the scene. Then it was revealed. See, then the Son of Man, perdition will be revealed. He ruled for 42 years. There he is. See? And that's what it would say. It says that he was set in Elijah's temple. Remember, his temple. See, the Jews have a synagogue, right? The Sunnis have a mosque, right? The Christians have a church. But Elijah Muhammad had a temple. So, I mean, how can you be deceived? He used the word temple. He was set in his seat in the temple, declared himself a God above all gods. Who's called God here? Farad is called a God, and Satan's called a God. He's putting himself above that. He's saying he's a God. It's right there, brothers and sisters. Anybody's not on board with this because they're demons themselves, or idiots, or time makers. We don't want any of them anyway. Okay, so, and here, if you talk about this, it's talking about when the bowls, it identifies who it says. It says it was 3 demons. One came out of the mouth of the wild beast, right? One came out of the mouth of the dragon, and one came out of the mouth of the false prophet. And so they identify who they are. So you know who the beast is, wild beast is, that represents Africa, right? The dragon represents Asia, right? And the false prophet represents false Israel, or Europeans. And so, where are we at now? Okay, there you go there. And that's where we are right now. Okay, and 4 winds haven't blown yet. Going past. Okay, the war is about to take place. And then the war does take place. And when it takes place, America, Britain, falls Israel, they're thrown out. The winds have blown now. All this happened. The reason I'm doing it this way, because all these things happen all at once. That's the resurrection. Remember, they tried to kill all the black people, right? They fell, and the 4 winds blew. That's fraud. That's when he has hit them, because they're about to. They poised to kill all the black people. The tanks and everything are circling the inner cities. They're ready to do it. And Farad hits them with the 4 winds, slow them down, to give time all black folks to come together. At that point, America's at war. See, they're at war with Russia. They're at war with China and North Israel, North Korea, and war with the EU. See? And so now that's where it says the crowns were shifted. So now they bowed down, and so all the power was shifted to the beast, from the dragon to the beast. There's 2 beasts. One beast has 7 heads, 10 horns also, but he had crowns upon his horns. That means that now China and India become the world powers, because America's losing power, because first they lost the war in the Middle East. Now they're being kicked in these other wars. They're losing power. Now the power's been shifted. Now China and India becomes the main world powers during this period. Let's just talk about. See? And that's at the point where the demons are separated out. They thrown back to their swine daddies. And we moved, and we left. Remember, they wanted to go back. Jesus leaving at the time. The demons, that's man, right? Jesus leaving. He's already cast those back. He cast the demons back to swine daddies, right? They cast out. They want to go back to this swine dash. Say back here, right? That's the second locust. The locust has two infections. The locust first 5 months, which is ending now, and that 5 months, which is to come. It's going to be worse than the first 5 months. And we're gone. We're over in the middle. She has not come over here. That's when Farah has delivered us. Now we're over in the Middle East. And they're back here with their swine dash, and they're fighting with each other. That also gets back to Samson, right? Where he kills his former captors and kills himself in the process also. And this is the flood. See? Now, while America's bogged down with this for war in Russia and Europe and the total chaos here in America, because the demons, they realize they can't. Dad is not going to back off. So now they got total civil war in America with the black folks that's left here. You have 17 million of them. They turmoil here. It's all mess. And that's when China, India invades. It's a flood of humanity, not a flood of water, because they're called also sea and the rivers. They invade and destroy America. Take it out. And that's the New Jerusalem. See? It says these 10 kings right here, they make war with the Lamb, and Lamb overcome them. See? Because after all this here, they go to war with us, and we get rid of them. That's the final war. And they will be led by Obama in that war. I'm not going to that right here. There's Legion, Louis Eugene Grounds. There's his father. First he says father was Caucasian, Portuguese. His grandfather's grandmother, his father's mother and grandmother was Portuguese Jews, right? Portuguese Caucasian Jews. Then when he got busted, he's switching over. He's a light-skinned Jamaican. Can't be both. His own words. The link is out there. Just Google it. That's his father. That's why his mother tried to abort him, because she was raped by his father. That was his first story. That makes him a demon, because a man carries a seed. Okay, that's the end of this. Let me see if I can finish off the other ones. Been here quite a while. Didn't mean to be. Okay, let's see this next one. Part 6. Well, looks like I might not be able to get. Okay, we might be able to get it. Okay, part 6. Peace and security. Sudden destruction. It says when they say peace and security, sudden destruction will come upon them like a child, like a woman having a child. This is where we are right now. they're talking about peace and security in so-called in the Middle East right now. All the so-called Sunnis are making peace with false Israel, which is supposed to be a no-no. Do not take Jews and Christians friends. If you do, you're one of them. So why are the Sunnis taking the Jews and Christians for friends? So it says, when you see, and that's what it's saying, all of a sudden we have peace. Finally, after all these years, we're going to have peace in the Middle East. That's what they're saying. That's what it said. They'll be saying, it's sudden destruction. Because this war will take place in a few days. When I say a few days, I literally mean a few days now, because we're in it. Before the end of November. There it is. That's the war. They kicked them out. Michael's angels kicked out the dragon's angels. So now America's kicked out. Okay? American falls Israel and Britain's kicked out. So it's talking about sudden destruction. See, and I'm not giving all the details here. And then false Israel's taken out too. And that's going to cause all kinds of panic because false Israel was set up to counter the argument that we're the true seed of Abraham. Because nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. See? And the idea was America gives all the trillions of dollars to keep that lie going because the scriptures say once they return, they cannot be taken down because God's with them, but they're going to be taken down. They're taken down. That's going to blow everything. That means we are true seed of Abraham. That's going to cause all kinds of havoc. Okay, we're going to stop there. We might be able to finish all of them. Let's see, 7. Yeah, okay, it's 2 more. See if we can get them all. Okay, we're going to talk about their plan as opposed to let me move something around here, I think. Let's see if this works. Okay, that might be okay. Yeah, we'll just leave it like that. Okay, we have 2. This is the way, it's the same right there. We're kind of show you. They had the book when we talk about Adam and Eve. That was if you follow it, if you understand the story, that was their plan. I talk about how they eat the tree is get rid of us. On the right is the plan that actually happens. That's what it's talking about in the 6th seal. So it's saying right there, but then this what actually happens because they were planning on getting rid of us before the war starts. But we right here, right now, right, and the war is about to start. See, you see the sackcloth, that's 2 witnesses, Iran and Syria. The war is about to start because they're casting plagues, and also you got a plague of the locusts. And in chapter 11 talks about the sackcloth also spread plagues. That's some of this COVID-19. I'm not going into any detail about that right now. This is what actually happens. See, before what happens on the left was supposed to happen. See, so at this point, this was on the left was where they were supposed to get rid of us before the war happened, but the war has already happened. The war happens before they have a chance to do that. It says those who dwell on the earth will come as a snare. It will come out of snare because you're going to wake up one morning and they're going to find they'll be surrounding you in this season, surrounding you and about to kill. And you ain't, most of you not even going to realize it's happening. That's why God had to drop those 4 winds to save your ass. Because you got to hear this NFL stuff and listen to Farrakhan is going to come as a snare. Because both of them are planning it. All of them want to get rid of you. That's what it's talking about. You're going to wake up one morning and they're going to be prepared to gather your ass and put in a concentration camp. It's like they did Japanese. You think they warned them? That's what it's talking about. But the war happens first before they had a chance to do what you saw on the left. See, because according to in Genesis, they ate first and then came the war. They clothed themselves. Here, the war comes first. That's what it says in chapter 6. I mean, it says in 6 seals. It says that a great wind came, right? And of course, the fig tree represents false Israel. They'll tell you that. The fig tree represents false Israel. And so its figs would be American Britain. So it says they were cast, they were not ripe yet. They weren't ripe. That means they wasn't ready. What they were supposed to be ready to do, it just wind came before they was able to do it. That's what is going on. That's Farad's plan. Because he's saving you. The demons get saved temporarily too. Right? But it's primarily saving the NOI. Because the elect, 144,000, they're not caught up in that. See, they're on top, they're not caught up in that. I can't reveal too much more to you about that. If you knew who they were, they're not going to be caught up in that. See, they're going to be delivered. See, and that's when Farad, right? That's at that point. That's when Suleiman, right, comes suddenly to Noai and cleans them up. While this is going on, it's not going to take long to do it. Point out those demons, get them demons off them, right? Clean it up. It's not going to be. We're not talking about a long time, short period of time, and they'll listen to them then. See, they rejected demons then, right? They're thrown out. See, he's cleaned it up, and then that's when he calls a Farad to bring the 4 winds. See, he sees what's happening. He calls a Farad to bring these 4 winds. That's the first 2. The delay what they was pretending but praying to do. He hits them hard. See, they surround in the cities, they get ready to get rid of you, and he hits them hard with those 4 winds. There's 2 of them. That's the first 2. Read about the 4 trumpets. Those are the 4 winds. See what they're doing, right? That's the remainder of them. Okay? And then the resurrection comes. That's when all black folks come together because they realize they're trying to kill all black folks. Now, everybody can see it. Even Ray Charles can see that one. Now they all come together. But the demons are still telling, man, come on, let's try to talk to the master. Let's have a white flag. Let's have a talk. We're not going to fight against you. It's because America's at war at this point. They're at war with China and North Korea and Russia and the EU, their former friend. They're at war, and all these black folks running around here causing all this trouble. They can't have that. So they're trying to wipe them all out. Got them in a concentration camp, but get rid of them. Once you got them gathered, just get rid of them. See, but Farad interrupts their plan. He preempts their plan. That's the difference. See, now they're together doing the same thing again, but now the resurrection taking place. And then the demons, right? That's what they said. They didn't want to leave the country. We just left the country. We moved the country, went over back to the Middle East. Syria and China, and Iran's not coming over here. So we're over. Farad has delivered us. He says, Michael will deliver us. At that time, right, of unprecedented trial. That means a time of death. That's the most unprecedented period of your life. Time of our death as a nation, because that's what they plan on doing. At that point, he delivers us. So we're over in the Middle East, and the demons, they said they didn't want to leave. They want to stay with Swine Daddy. So that's where they are. They left back. And now They got turmoil. This country, they're fighting. That's the second locust plague. They tear this country apart. It's also Samson between two pillars. They tear this country apart internally while America's at war with the sword within and sword without. That's what it's talking about. See? And then why they're still in the war. The waters are part of the tribulation. The waters, the rivers, so they go through tribulation with the Sunni, and they'll be fighting with the Sunni. That's another story altogether. That's the end of that one. I think it's one more. One more. One more, see if we can get this one and finish up. Okay, that's good. Okay. 8, last one, last segment. War, war, war. This the war. Said, besides the sun and moon and earth stars, earth distress of nature with perplexity, seas and waves roaring. What does that mean? What you see now? You see Trump is fanning the flames with China. It's tension between China. That's the sea and the waves. Sea says the waves, right? It says now he's fanning the flames between China. That means the tensions are growing. They expect to be at war with China anytime now. That's what it's saying. It says the earth in distress. Distress, that's the European nations. They're in distress with this virus and economics. The economics, right? Everything. You see, the European nations are in distress now. They get hit hardest with this virus than any place else. See? And there are tensions between America and China, and also India, are increasing, especially China. That's what it said be like. Perplexity. And seas and waves roaring and getting angry. He's getting China angrier and angrier and angrier. You see? That's what it's talking about. It talks about the demons coming out of the mouth of the dragon. It's called spirits, bad spirits. Unclean spirits. See? Spirits of demons. That means remember the original nation of spirits, 7 spirits, but you had 3 unclean spirits. See? 3 unclean spirits as frogs. That's where it would be. That's where we are right now in time, if you understand the angel. And it says men's hearts. Let's see. I missed that one. It said these are days of vengeance. What vengeance? Who was wrong? We were wronged. So those who are pregnant, right? Who's pregnant here? America and Britain, right? They got someone under them. It says the wrath upon them. It says wrath upon them. That's what the wrath will be upon. They fall by edge of sword and led to captivity. They're going into, when America's invaded by China, they're going to take them into captivity. Those that led in captivity will take them into captivity. They're the ones that put us in captivity. They want to slave us. Now they're going into perpetual slavery. That's what it's talking about here. So those flee to the mountains. See, that's who's that. The mountains also represents where the four winds were. That means that's talking about the resurrection. It says the powers of the heavens be shaken. What powers of heaven be shaken? That means, where was the war at? Michael's angel with the war with the dragon angel in heaven. Now the powers of heaven were shaken. That means they was kicked out because they had the power. Now it's kicked out. Their power was shaken. It's broken. Well, I didn't see. Well, it's not there. Anyway, it says men's hearts will be failing for fear of those things coming upon the earth, coming upon the European countries. Talking about the planet Earth. Feel, that's when you understand who the earth is. You have to understand the angel. So the men's hearts will be filled with fear of things coming upon the earth. Because now they see that when their war is broken, I told you, when they lose that war in the Middle East, when Trump said, they mess with us, we got 10 times more power, we got stuff they don't even know about. But now if they get broken, remember they got broken in Vietnam, and they're supposed to be, the Vietnamese didn't have any tanks, no planes, you understand? No missiles, none of that, and they still kick their ass. And now they're saying that you got kicked out of the Middle East? But see, Farad is going to be a part of that. Michael and his angels. So as men's hearts be failing for fear of things coming upon the earth. Because they have to see that happen. And then they go to war with China and India and Europe and Russia. People will be having heart attacks in this country. Here it is right here. Men's hearts failing them for fear of the expectations. Expectation is future. Expectation is something that hasn't happened yet. Those things come upon earth for the powers of heaven be shaken. What's the powers of heaven? That means the war. They had the war. They lost that war, and now the people are afraid. Because remember, Israel went down, was supposed to go down, right? Now they found that we the true seed of Abraham. That means that God's after them. These plagues are from divine plagues. You see? And now they get hit by these four winds. It says men's hearts be failing them. It means heart attacks. There'd be so much fear in this country. Because now everything is working. Everything is backfiring. They're getting their ass kicked in Europe, Russia, and EU. That used to be their former friends. Remember, Trump's already made enemies out of EU. So now they're at war with them, and they're at war with China and Korea. Every time they went to war over that region, they got their ass kicked. The North Koreans stopped MacArthur. That's why you have, and he broke peace before they took the whole country. That's why you have North and South Korea. Same thing in Vietnam, but they could make peace with Vietnam. I said, we ain't making no peace with you, because they already went to played that game, so they kicked them out altogether. They so happened when they deal with the Japanese. So now, they're at war with China and North Korea and Russia and Europe, EU. They have no friends anywhere. And they just got kicked out of the Middle East. And as far as Israel is no more. That means they know God's after them now, because as far as Israel wasn't real Israel. Okay, that's what it's talking about. Okay. Then the four winds blow. That's the second resurrection. Read Ezekiel. There was two resurrections. The first one came prior to the four winds. The second was post four winds. See, they don't want to tell you this. The first one is, then the second one have a life in it. See, the second one is the spirits. That's the second resurrection. That's the one that hasn't taken place yet, unless you can prove that four winds are already blown. That means Elijah was the first resurrection. He raised up the nation of Islam, the widow's son. They're Levites. They're not Israel. They're not tribe of Shabazz, but they're grafted in tribe, because they suffered what we suffered. So they get rights. We give them access to the reward of the Abrahamic covenant. But it's like you have adopted a child. You treat them like all the other children, but your children, your biological children gets their inheritance, not the graft, not the adopted children. They get treated the same way, but the inheritance goes to biological children. See, so they get rewarded, but they don't get the same reward we do. See, we get to inherit this because we're Abraham's seed. There's tribe of Levi. But they had to go through tribulation. That's what it's talking about here. See? So they come exceedingly great army. Because we go back home, we're really exceedingly great army. Because it says, these 10 kings, see 10 kings over here, the 10 horns? These will make war with the Lamb. See? After they wipe out Europe, they'll come against us. But it says, Lamb will overcome them because he's the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. But Ra is called the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's the same thing. One's called Lord of Lords and King of Kings. That's the Lamb. And Ra is called the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Now you figure out what that means. And when we're delivered, the demons are cast down. Then say, you see the Son of Man come with clouds and great glory. See? And the last plague is tearing America apart. Then the flood comes, they're wiped out. That's the ark, you see, it was 9 in the ark, and the ark was up under waters. We see the moon, that's also the waters. See? And you see the nation of Islam in the waters. I should have changed that to waters, because also the moon, but it's also the waters also. See? Let's get back to Daniel, the goat and the ram. So you take and study it. That's it, brothers and sisters. Okay, brothers and sisters, that's pretty much it. I'm not going to say too much more. It took a while. I wanted to just cover some basic things there. Just try to give you a timeline from the beginning all the way up to now, how they started, YACOB. It's trying to show you the Bible covers it all, from the beginning to the end. When you see read chapter 20 of the Angel Revelations, notice they mentioned 1,000 years 6 times for 6,000 years. Because they tell them, that says age-old dragon or age-old serpent, rather. They tell how old it is, 6,000 years. See? That book takes you, chapter 20 takes you from the point of the fall of the Roman Empire and the rise of Prophet Muhammad. They happen at the same time, right? All the way up to their end. It says at the end, Gog and Magog said, not Gog and Magog, they was for 1,000 years, they was in the abyss. That's their dark ages. But during that time, the resurrection had taken place, and they ruled for 1,000 years. That's the Sunni. They're trying to recapture that time. That's the time of the Quran. But it's not irrelevant. That period has passed. This is after 1,000 years, Gog and Magog would come out and cover the whole earth. Europeans didn't even know about the whole earth. They're trying to tell you that's future. No, that has already happened. That's how they're trying to deceive you by telling you the future is the past and past the future. So Gog and Magog, America and Britain, came out and covered the whole earth. There have only been 2 world empires in YACOB's history. That's been Britain and America. Only 2 world empires. That's Gog and Magog. Magog, the mother of Gog, that's Britain. So they would cover the whole earth. And then they would circle the holy city. It means they would circle the Middle East. They bring fire out of heaven in the sight of men. Which means and you go to the Middle East, the skies are darkened with cruise missiles and drones, right? Fire hellfire missiles down to people indiscriminately. That's what's going on over there. Obama was one of the worst of them on that. That's what it said. They bring fire to heaven and then that's when they would be destroyed. That point when they would be destroyed. And then the judgment will take place. If you're not in the Lamb's Book of Life, you're thrown into. So, hey, you better find out if Farrakhan got that Lamb's Book of Life. He said he broke the seals. You better find out if he has or not. Because you read that chapter 20, if you ain't in the Lamb's Book of Life, right? You're thrown into fire. You discard. Nobody wants you. You better read it. You better ask check Sowers there. Do he have that book? You better find what that book is. So then you find it. Make sure you don't run into some scalper. You know? Like Sowers and them, the scalpers, right? Telling you they want money from you and they take care of them because they claim they're going to they're going to give you the show, right? Take you to hereafter. They're scalpers. They're selling you false tickets. Because scalpers not going to make it. And said, if you're not in that Lamb's Book of Life, you're not getting, and the Lamb's Book of Life, the Lamb is the only one that can break these seals. So you better check and find they broke those seals. If not, you better find who has. But if you're a demon, it doesn't matter. We don't want you under any circumstances. Read the lessons. It says the prophets that tried to redeem you, everybody's tried. We decided we just take you off the planet. See, devils and demons, all the same to us. Okay, brothers and sisters. I'm going to leave it here. I have one other presentation, but I took a long time with this, so maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Right? I want to get into this, to the wisdom. We talked about the book. We talked about the wisdom. Because brothers and sisters, it's not as complicated as you think it is. Thought is pressure. Once you understand that, everything around you is pressure. Everything about you is pressure. Everything around you is pressure. Your heart, your lungs, everything about you is pressure. Your voice, pressure waves. You hear sound waves. Everything is pressure. Your lungs, everything is pressure. Everything around you is pressure. But you understand thought is pressure. Once you understand that, this whole world, what you're dealing with is your struggle is against other pressure. And the greater, the stronger pressure always overcomes the weaker pressure. So when you strengthen your brain and you get your thoughts more powerful, then you overcome others. They can't resist it. Weaker pressure cannot withstand greater pressure. It's impossible. And it's just that simple. And the 5 pillars of Islam teach you how to maximize that pressure. Once your pressure is greater than theirs, there's nothing they can do to you. If you're in prison, those prison doors are coming open. Because they cannot contain you. They contain you because their pressure is greater than yours. Because you've been out there smoking that reefer and crack and all that kind of stuff, you weaken your mind, you weaken your brain, so now their pressure is greater than yours, so now they got you boxed in. Because greater pressure, if it surrounds lower pressure, it will box it in. But a balloon expands because the pressure inside is greater than the pressure outside. So it expands. But if you start letting air out the balloon, then it starts contracting because the pressure outside is greater than the pressure inside. So it starts going down. It gets confined. That's how you're in prison. It's as simple as that. Get off your ass and get onto the Injil. Get onto the 5 pillars of Islam. And break the power that the devils have over you, because they gave you their software, which if you upload their software, that software is for them. That means against you. That's why you're fighting against yourself, because that software is designed to destroy you. So now that's the software you're running. Their software is for their culture. Their culture is opposed to your culture. That means oppressive by nature is against it. So now if you upload their software, their mind, their Christianity, their mind, that means it's self-destruct because you're working against yourself. Because that's their culture. That's against you by nature. So they put that on you. That means you don't have to worry about you. You're self-destructive. That's why demon-possessed man was beating himself up until he got his right mind, and then he got rid of them demons. That's why he's possessed by demons now, because you're running their software, their religion, their understanding. So it makes your brain weak, so their pressure is greater than yours. So that means they confine you, they control you. But once your pressure becomes greater than theirs, that means that you expand and they have to back up. They can't confine you anymore. Only reason they was confined in slavery because we were suffering any deprivation. We couldn't build enough pressure to keep them off our ass. But now we do, we can. And we're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So, because right now, we get strong enough that we get them off our ass. That's why we get ready to get rid of them. And we have enough energy to form our own nation again. From our own civilization. That's what we're going to talk about in my next presentation. We'll go into a lot of detail about that. So if you live the life of Elijah Muhammad, then that right there is enough. But if you live the life that I'm teaching you right now from the angel, that's even more powerful, because now you got greater wisdom, because now you understand what the 5 pillars of Islam is actually doing. Because right now you just know about them. You don't really understand the math behind it. If Islam is mathematics and mathematics Islam, then the pillars that Islam set on must be mathematical themselves. And I explained 5 mathematical principles of Islam, because all mathematics. Elijah Muhammad says all mathematics. He says God is power and force. What do you tell you that? That means the universe is force, period. It says God is power and force. Don't you understand it, brothers and sisters? You're dealing with greater pressure. So you increase your pressure, that means you have to push them away. Just like you put greater pressure in a balloon, it has to expand. Nothing can stop it unless it just busts. So you confine, because the pressure outside is greater than the pressure inside, so you confine. Their pressure, mental pressure, is greater than yours. The whole civilization is their expression of their mental pressure. It all comes from pressure. Their mind, this reality is their reality, the grafted reality. But now we bring our reality in. And theirs have to move. Either they crush us or we crush them. It has to be one way or the other. A diamond, you put the coal on enough pressure, so only 2 things can happen. Either transform into diamonds or it gets crushed to dust. It has to have the ability to transform into diamonds. We get stronger under pressure. So we will transfer. That's how we transform in a twinkle of an eye. See? So we can transfer in that, but this pressure is going to crush them to dust. You're going to let you crush your dust too? Because if it crush your dust, because you did to yourself. See? So watch my next, I'm going to explain it again. I'm going into more detail. But it's just as simple. That's why I call it simplicity of Christ. I don't care where you are in the world. If you increase your mental pressure, right there, they have to back off you. Because you're in that prison, because their pressure is greater than yours, so they got you confined, they got you depressed. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.